all good for Liverpool, meanwhile, and all good in particular for Mohamed Salah, especially that he's in his last year of his contract. Was so good, of course, within this game once again at Old Trafford. You take a look at what he had to say about his future. As you know, it's my last year in the club. I just want to enjoy it and don't want to think about it. Nobody in the club has talked to me yet about contracts. So, OK, I'll play my last season and we'll see at the end of the season. It's not up to me. Jules, obviously this timing is perfect, considering his performance that we saw once again at Old Trafford. Of course, you take a look at his numbers, they speak for himself. Does it surprises us from the outside, well, it surprised me, outside looking, there hasn't been a conversation about Salah's future at Liverpool. Does it surprise you?
It doesn't surprise me. What surprises me really, and it's not just Salah, because Van Dijk and Trent are in the same position. They are in the last year of their contract. I find it really, really strange that a club like Liverpool, and they may be their three best players, or certainly three of their most important players, that they've left it that late to sort out their future. And maybe that's simply because they don't want to keep them. So you don't want to keep them, you run down their contract, then you say goodbye, you leave on a free, it's fine. I'd be very surprised if they don't want to keep any of them. So you find yourself in a difficult position, because Salah is right, and Salah doesn't talk often. But when he does, he knows that everything he says obviously will have big repercussions. Remember last season when he had that fight with Klopp in the game against West Ham when he was on the bench, and then he walked past the mix zone after that. He didn't have to say anything, and yet he said, if I speak, they're going to create fire. I can't remember exactly how he put it, but he knew exactly that this would create the big buzz that he wanted to create. So yesterday was very similar. He came on English television straight after the game, like often players do. He didn't have to talk about his future, really. He could have easily avoided the question or said another answer. So he wanted that out. Is it because he wants to stay? I think at 32 years old, he knows that earning right now £450,000 a week, he knows that he's not going to be on that money, even if he gets an extension from Liverpool. So maybe he was just getting the ball rolling, and maybe that's what he wanted. Or maybe it's just the fact he's got 1 year left on his contract, or less than that now, until June 30th, and he wants to enjoy it, and he doesn't really want to think right now about what happens next, whether he stays, whether he goes to MLS, Saudi Arabia, back to Egypt, whatever he wants to do, really. But when you see the form that he's in right now, if you're Liverpool, can you afford to let him go? And even if you sign Chiesa, and it's the argument we had with Gab this morning on our show, I don't care that Chiesa is there. Chiesa is nowhere near as good as Salah anyway. So if you're Salah, that Chiesa is there or not doesn't change the dynamic of your position and your situation. But if you're Liverpool right now, really you can't do without him. So you'd have to think about keeping him.
This was no bulldog Ian Ladyman doing the questions. This was a simple, this could be your last game at Old Trafford. And then Salah went, well, yeah, good. No one's even talked to me about it.
Well, I think it's a difficult scenario all round, because here you have a player who is clearly still performing at the highest level, and you have but he's 32. He's not going to be interested in a 1 or 2 year deal, and I think Liverpool, I would imagine, would have some fear about going to 3 years.
And rightly so, yeah? That's understandable.
Yeah, absolutely understandable. There's a fear of handing out long contracts to guys 32, 33 years old, because this year could be great, but next year, it falls off. I mean, Casemiro's, I don't think we'll go back to it, but it is a very good example how it can sort of fall off a cliff quickly. He has this long contract on big money. And when you get in your 30s, it can change. It can change on a dime. And so it's a very difficult position, because here you have a guy who's one of the most coveted players in the world, one of the biggest earners, but you don't want to sell yourself with a contract that's going to cost you a fortune, and in 18 months' time, or even at the end of this season, he starts to wane, and you think, oh, I wish I hadn't done that now. So it's a very difficult scenario in a game of bluff. And at the moment, I mean, I suppose both are in a position of power, but you don't want the player to be disgruntled. And clearly, if he's saying something yesterday, there is some disgruntlement behind the scenes.
No, as Jules says, he didn't have to say it.
No.
Like, you could have.
Yeah, listen. The weird thing for me with this, and from a Liverpool perspective, is Saudi Arabia. That they'd be interested in a player like Mo Salah. So why don't you have, to Craig's point, while you don't want to offer a 32-year-old a 3-year deal, Mo Salah and his attraction to that market won't wane. So Saudi Arabia is always a get-out for you. So why do you leave it in the last year? Now all of a sudden there's the possibility of him going on a free in 12 months' time. If you are to offer him even if you are to offer him a 1-year extension, it's going to be on so much money that he's already on a lot of money. If you offer him a year, maybe even 2, you want to push it out, it's just so much money. At this point, you could have had this conversation 18 months ago, 2 years ago, when that Saudi Arabia interest first kind of propped up, knowing that's not going away. Saudi Arabia will always be interested in Mo Salah. So you could get out from under a longer contract at that point. So for me, I thought Liverpool got this all wrong. And in this era of profit and sustainability, where every penny coming in kind of counts and it matters in terms of your books, I just thought from a business perspective, they got this wrong on a number of layers.
Well, their transfer window has not closed, is it, Saudi Arabia?
No.
Well, there's no way you can sell them.
We've got a special transfer show for that.
Yeah.
So are you.
It's all you.
You with a camera.
Even if they say now somebody was to come in and say, you know, test the water with Mo Salah from Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
Even if Liverpool wanted the money, there's no way they can sell him. They've started the season strongly.
I see, try and get any money from him.
Yeah, I mean, say somebody... I'm just saying that, you know, it's still open. They can still come in and test it to see how he is, see what the club feel about it, think they could lose him in a free. But from a football perspective, they just can't let him go. New managers come in, great start, big win against United. He's playing, started the season well. You just can't take that now. So, I don't know, it's going to be an interesting few months ahead for him in Liverpool.
You know what happened yesterday too, when they asked Slot about this situation? He didn't really jump into it, because I think he also doesn't want to, you know, open his mouth up for something that he probably has to, you know, communicate internal. Because opening this situation up is a sensitive thing. Because Mo, he's been a star for Liverpool for so long, and what you guys already said. Now talking about it is now is the period for Liverpool at least to mean something. When that, like, what is it? When December hits, there is no need to talk anymore, because then he probably already has his conversation already with whatever his next move is going to be. So if Liverpool wants to do something, okay, you guys were right, they're late, but they better hurry up, because if not, it's more expensive to go and buy a Salah player at that level, and it's very hard to find, because someone that knows the system, knows the club, knows the culture, settled really well in Liverpool with his family and everything around him, and now you gotta go and find somebody like him. It's not gonna be easy for them. It's gonna cost them a lot of money, a lot more than they might be offering him.
If you replace Salah with Chiesa or anybody else, you then have to go and buy a striker. Because nobody, not even Luis Diaz, nobody is producing the numbers that he has.
No.
So therefore, you're taking that 25, 30 plus goals out of the side. You then need to buy a striker.
Get that Darwin Núñez. Where's he?
He's on the bench, and that's where he'll remain.
There's been a lot of talk around the holding midfield position. You went for Zubimendi and didn't go for an alternative. What is it you've seen in Ryan that convinced you he can kind of be that figure that drove the team on today?
His quality on the ball could be my first answer, but I think coming from the Netherlands, we all know how good he is with the ball. So he can be a really important player for our build-up game. But what impressed me most when I started working with him, how much he can run, and then how good he is when he arrives in the duel. And today you saw with him, Dominic and Maka, how much they were able to keep on running, because sometimes you're late, but then they just kept on running and arriving in the duel. So that is the one thing that impressed me most about him, how good he also is without the ball.
His best game for Liverpool, without a doubt, of course, Mario, since signing, and what a time to put it in at Old Trafford.
It's perfect, you know. Like the funny part, of course, we both Dutch guys, and whenever I'm in Amsterdam, you know, we always steam in the similar area. So I have a conversation with him. I spoke to him before when they. It's been a while now that he had a situation with the Dutch national team. It was kind of sensitive. His reaction to it was very confident, and I think this is also the way he played yesterday. You know, you could see a kid that kind of like settled himself in Liverpool and now feels like this is my time. The time what Slot said on the ball, that is exactly what he played for Ajax. He will sometimes drop off and come really deep and play right, you understand, pick the ball up from the back and then distribute whatever it needs to go. Doing that for Liverpool is very hard because the league is different and the expectations are higher, the stadium is, you know, but that's why I think it took him a little bit more time to get where he is now, and now you just hope that he can keep producing this kind of performances, because yesterday I enjoyed watching him. Why I enjoyed watching him? Because the way he was carrying the ball, what Slot said, his strength, power and belief and the smartness of the way he dribbled the ball through the middle was very crucial. And I think Slot kind of said it. He knew about him, but he wanted to see what he was going to deliver to him, because why wasn't he playing that much? Because I don't think he was ready. You will not have the Gravenberch, what you see now. I think when he got to Liverpool, it took him some time. And I think now Slot saw like, okay, I might want to bank on this player and see what he can deliver. If he keeps on delivering this, he's got a chance to play the games for Liverpool.
So, what does that win for Liverpool mean with regards to the big picture? I think pretty much everyone agreed, apart from Frank, who's crazy, that it would be City against Arsenal in the title run-in. We're 3 games in. Obviously, we know this is early, but this is what we do. It's an interesting conversation, isn't it, to have as to whether or not there's an argument now that Liverpool are closer to City than we thought they were, and maybe Arsenal aren't quite as close? Is this where you bite my head off?
No, I think you're wrong. I think Arsenal are still the strongest squad and strongest team to attack City. I just don't think they've quite been at their best, and I include the victory at Aston Villa until they got, you know, Ollie Watkins could have killed them off. I didn't think it was the best performance, but it was one of the better results. Clearly, they found Brighton difficult, more so when Declan Rice stupidly got sent off. They still had some chances on the break, Bukayo Saka and others in the second half to get a result. But I think, obviously, Marino injured after coming in is a blow for them. But I still feel, as good as Liverpool have been, that Arsenal can be the strongest challenger to Man City. I'm convinced of that. I'm not convinced. I think Liverpool are tidy, they're well balanced. But I'm not convinced they can go all the way, almost like Arsenal did last year. And for me, it's still Arsenal as the strongest team. I had them to win the league. I think of watching City at the weekend, I was kind of like, well, if that keeps up, it's going to be difficult. But I think Arsenal have had a mediocre start to the season. Even though they're on 7 points, I think they can be a lot better.
Jules, what do you think? Are Liverpool closer than maybe you thought, and Arsenal a little further away?
No, I don't think so. I said all summer, or certainly before my holidays, in my prediction that Liverpool would finish second. I had them above City, just behind Arsenal, simply because I thought City would get derailed a bit by all the charges that we eventually would find out very soon now, and the fact that it could be Guardiola's last season at the club and stuff. So I thought the 3 would be quite close, that Arsenal will still edge it, but that Liverpool will be there with City, that we will have a 3-horse race for the title, really. So I still maintain that. I loved what I saw from Liverpool in pre-season, and I know pre-season sometimes we can't judge a lot on it because of some players not there, it's still friendly matches, etc. But it looked like already they got what Arne Slot wanted from them, and the fact that Mo Salah, for example, as he explained yesterday after the game, had a long summer where he can recharge and then be ready for the start of the new season. I think that was really helpful for Liverpool. So I had a feeling that they would be very good from the get-go. There will be tougher games than Ipswich, Brentford and this United side that we saw yesterday. Of course, there will be. But that's a perfect start. 3 games, you haven't conceded, you've scored. So 3, 2 and 3 again. So it's pretty much perfect.
What do you think, Shaq?
I still think Man City and Arsenal are 1-2. I went for Arsenal to win the league. Liverpool have been better than I expected. But as we sit right now, I still think Liverpool finished third. And yes, it has been an absolutely fantastic start. But ultimately, titles are decided in that second half of the season. And you saw exactly how good City and Arsenal were in the second half of last season. We're still not that certain about Liverpool and that.
Last word to you, Mario.
I have City winning it. I mean, that's what I put down, you understand, a couple of weeks ago. And then I had Arsenal as second. I still believe also that they can get it. I think Arteta has enough experience in trying to, making sure that the team starts flowing the way he wanted. Liverpool also, you have to remember, it's Slot's first season, and he never had a season when he will, face a winter like you meet in the Premier League. So hopefully, the way it looks like his team is very fit, he had that fine or two. So let's see if he can manage to get through that, and then he could surprise a lot of people, including myself.